You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is December 9th, 2024 meeting of the Long Beach Town Council. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
It's 7. Welcome everyone to the Town Council meeting in Long Beach, December. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
We confuse prayers.
Meg, could you do the roll call, please?
President Joy Schmidt.
Here.
Anita Remages.
Here.
Kent Bartlett.
Here.
J.D. Haley.
Present.
Clerk Treasurer Ben Collins, I'm present. Attorney Chris Willoughby.
Present.
Chief Swistek.
Present.
That concludes the roll. Shannon Wilchin, I apologize.
I think I'm present.
Shannon is present, that concludes roll.
Thank you. Having no opening remarks, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from Council November 11th, 2024.
I would make that motion to approve the minutes of November 11th, 2024.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Public comments, which will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comments on Zoom?
Yes.
Could you please state your name and address?
Ann Perry, 2209 Chastleton, regarding the sewer situation, the sewer project.
Okay. Please give us your comment.
I just am concerned that there isn't enough information about the project. It seems to be, my understanding will be going down Chastleton. My house is on Chastleton, and I think there's a lot that needs to be addressed, and the town council needs more time and community input to address these issues before voting on such a large project to me. And I'm not sure what the houses that, I think the benefit is for 5 to 10 houses on Lakeshore Drive. And so I just think there needs to be a better plan to address these issues. And I think a public hearing to work on this such a large project is necessary.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on Zoom? Any comments in the audience?
This is Tim Hanley. I'm at 2211 Chastleton Drive. I haven't received much communications in quite a while for the sewer project, and it was many months ago where I think they came out and surveyed and had flags and markings all over up and down Chastleton. I would love to hear tonight from the board, what is the plan, to Ann's point, of more communications before anything gets green-lighted and move forward?
Okay, thank you for your comment. I will tell you that we have not seen any of the details yet, so when we do, we will certainly share them with everyone. Any more comments?
Hi, yes, can you hear me? It's Mary Wilson. I also live on Chastleton 2209. Many of the same comments that Tim and Ann have already reflected. Sorry, I'm in a really loud place. It's the middle of the holiday season, but I'm trying to call in because this is very important to me. I'd like to know, how are we addressing sewers holistically in Long Beach? And how are the costs breaking out here? And are there any costs that Long Beach is paying? And what happens if something goes wrong with this project? Who covers that? And will Chastleton be unavailable for certain parts of the season? And will Lakeshore Drive be unavailable for certain parts of the season? And are any tax dollars going to this? And is any budget going to this? And How long will this project take? And have plans been laid out? And have we selected the people who will be doing this project and what qualifications were used to select them? So mainly at this point, I just have question after question after question. But I think this is a pretty big project to benefit 5 people, where it's going to rip up 2 major streets in a community that we all enjoy and value. So I'd like a chance to get a lot more information, and I hope that all of you would like a chance to hear more from the community about this before we proceed. And where things sort of pop up on the agenda without a lot of information, and all of us have to step away from the holiday events that we're at to make sure that you're aware of our feelings. I'd like it to just be a little bit
Thank you.
organized.
3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more comments?
Totally victorious.
We're being quiet. Yeah, you can't turn your phone. I can't turn it.
Any comments in the audience?
Well, yeah, I guess I live at 2020.
Can you please come up to the microphone?
Oh,
All right. Thanks. You push the button,
I,
push the button until it
Okay.
turns red.
Name and address.
Mary Crawl, 2026
Push the
Chestnut.
button again.
Still not on.
Name and address, please.
Mary Crawl, 2026 Chesterton. I am a full-time resident. I bought my house a year ago, and I just echo all the concerns of my neighbors. And I'm here full-time, and just kind of want to see and know what the plan is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments?
You want on Chesterton for some? Yeah. Okay, so just push the button.
Yes.
Julie Doyle, 2218 Chesterton, same comments.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to approval of town insurance quotes for 2025.
Madam President, if I may, before we introduce our presentation related to our insurance policies for the town, earlier this year, we were notified by our current broker, Michiana Insurance, that the town's insurance policies were going to anticipate a 5 to 7% increase in 2025. So therefore, in discussions with the town council and the town administration, we decided it was in the best interest of the town to put all of our insurance policies out for quotes, which we have done so. We are now in receipt of quotes from our current broker, Michiana Insurance, and then the other broker that had participated is with us tonight, and that is General Insurance of Michigan City, represented by Charlie Keene and Matt Weber. And at this time, I will turn it over to Charlie and Matt for their presentation.
Hold it down just a second more. It should go on. There you go.
Thank you. Good evening, Town Council and Administration. Thanks for having us in tonight. Over the last couple of months, we've worked with Mark to secure other options for the town's property and casualty insurance renewal. And I believe you've received kind of a comparison of the 2 programs. So really, I'm here to not get into great detail unless you'd like to, but to merely answer some questions and make a couple of clarifications of the program. The comparison that you received did not include 2 accident policies that are part of the town's program. The accident policy for the volunteer fire department and the accident policy for the police reserve volunteers. So we have added those to the program, but we did not have the terms of the renewals for through Provident. So we just kind of made the assumption that they would be the same as expiring as far as premium goes. So all in, it saves the town an additional $6,481 on that line of coverage. So without getting into too much detail or confusion, are there any questions I can answer?
Charlie, maybe for the public's knowledge, if you could just kind of touch on some of the additional coverage that we'll have things that we will have in 2025 that we do not have for the town currently, as far as like our property, overall value.
Absolutely. So after doing a complete analysis of the town's insurance property and casualty program, we came up with quite a few improvements by going with the alternative program through HCC. So I'll just kind of run through these pretty quickly. Commercial property improvements, additional approximately $1.6 million in coverage on the buildings and personal property owned by the town. We have increased extra expense coverage from approximately $138,000 to $500,000. We have the addition of both flood and earthquake coverage perils, both in the amount of $1 million each, as well as an AM Best financially strong rating, 8 double plus, which is the highest you can get from AM Best. And then on the crime side, addition of money and securities, forgery and alteration, and computer fraud, which current program does not include. On the liability side, coverage improvements, defense costs are included outside of the limit, so essentially the limit of coverage is not eroded by a defense cost in the event of some kind of liability suit. Unmanned aircraft liability coverage, i.e. drone coverage, is included in the program. Liability policies are not subject to audit, so the premiums won't change. Coverage limits are siloed, which means you have $5 million per liability policy coverage within the form, so that's a big improvement. And then moving on to the auto, the uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage of $1 million. So that's kind of the highlights of the change program.
For the council's knowledge, a few months ago, you voted to increase our deductibles on our automobile policies. We went from $1,000 to $2,500 on the deductibles. One of the changes in the new proposal is we also, a few months ago, the council had moved on the deductibles on all of our property, on the buildings, to increase that to $5,000. I believe we're recommending, Charlie, we increase that to $10,000, correct?
Correct. There was substantial savings to do so.
I believe it was like $3,600 a year savings. The nice thing about that is we do have a rainy day fund for the town. We're encouraging, the council has been working to continue to build the funds at a rainy day fund for the sole purpose that, let's just say we have some storm-related damage to one of our facilities, and that we're already going to get a $5,000 deductible, but just to make that additional $5,000 to go to the $10,000 each year that we don't have a claim, we're saving an additional $3,600. So it is our recommendation to the council as part of this package that we do go to the $10,000 deductible on all of our facilities. And then the storm-related hail damage, I believe, was, how much was that one? I can't recall.
The deductible?
The deductible.
It's $10,000.
It's $10,000.
Yeah, there's no different deductible.
We're currently, as we're aware, we have storm-related damage on the community center. We just had a $183,000 claim for the gutters and the roof there. We only paid a $1,000 deductible. In the future, if we had any similar incidents, it would be a $10,000 deductible. So those are some of the major changes. I did reach out on Friday last week. I spoke to our current broker, Michiana Insurance. Kind of gave them an advance notice that in anticipation of tonight's meeting, that General Insurance will be making their presentation, and that they were substantially less as far as the cost is for the town, and that it will be our recommendation. Both myself and Clerk Treasurer Meg Collins had met with both Charlie and Matt last week, and it is our recommendation to the council tonight that effective December 15th, the town change over to General Insurance on all of our related policies. And then also they already have our health care for our employees. So more or less, they will have all policies related to the town's interest.
So my comment, Mark, would be with these changes to deductibles, which are major impacts to the overall cost of insurance, why would we not wait for Michiana to come back? Because we are asking them also to change deductibles.
They quoted these at those deductibles already.
Michiana has?
Yeah.
So is the comparison Michiana to general? Those are the two plans we see?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And
I didn't know if you had two different plans in front of us,
No.
and we could pick either or of your company. But you're saying even though one says Houston, one says,
Right.
these are yours versus theirs?
Yes.
Okay,
And Michiana is aware that their quotes came in higher than the quotes received for general insurance.
so, perfect. So you guys would be the HCC?
Correct.
That was my question, comment. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept, we approve the town insurance quotes for 2025, property and liability policies, with HCC per their proposal.
And if I could just add, either authorizing Joy or myself to authorize signature with Michiana to cancel the other policies, one of us is going to have to sign to authorize that as well. So whomever you would like.
I won't fight you for it.
Yeah.
Me?
We'll
Okay,
get those in.
I'll sign it.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we have Lake Shore Sewer LLC street access.
Good evening. Michael Bergerson, Michigan City, Indiana. I represent Lakeshore Sewer LLC, and one of our members of the LLC, Mr. Galligan, at 2234 Lakeshore Drive, is present with me tonight. Project started and on the agenda tonight as a result of finally getting approval by the Lakeshore Sewer LLC from the Michigan City Sanitary District, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, Michigan City Common Council to construct for purposes of the people who maybe have not heard of the project, or those who are here online or in by Zoom, this is a 100% privately funded project. We're not asking for any monies from the town of Long Beach, the city of Michigan City, or anyone else in order to build this project. The project, and I'll try to keep my comments brief tonight to stay within the 3-minute time limitation. I'm here to answer any questions, of course. It's a large concerning project, of course. I understand that. The project itself would traverse some portion of Lakeshore Drive between stops 21 and 22, service 5 homeowners there along the north side of Lakeshore Drive. It's scheduled and engineered by Haas and Associates to accommodate originally 10. There are 5 active members. The sewer can accommodate at least 10 at this point in time. It's a low pressure force main system that will eliminate the need of these homes who are no longer have operating septic systems, who utilize a septic pump type system, the monthly or weekly or however often it's needed, the pump and dump type of system. That's really a short-term solution. We all know it's a short-term solution. We understand that there's some concern related to use of access to streets. Certainly are welcoming of a workshop with this board, any members of the public, to review those plans with our engineer, Mr. Haas. But ultimately, we are going to come back and ask the town council for permission for use of access to some portions of Chastleton, Lakeshore Drive, to construct the system within the rights of way. I got into this project about a year and a half or so, and went through the project with the city council, and then ultimately with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. And then lastly, again, as I said, with the Michigan City Sanitary District, from whom the effluent from these homes would ultimately be delivered at their system at Carwick Road and Hacienda, for lack of a better, at that intersection. That is where the sewer is. Now, has the town of Long Beach granted access to others outside of Michigan City and in the town of Long Beach? Yes, they have. Not only on the far western edge of Long Beach, but within the town of Long Beach along Duffy Lane that service the Long Beach Country Club. It has been done in the past pursuant to private sewer agreements. I know that I'm getting that private sewer agreement for you as soon as all of the edits are done. I have one that is edited with blue lines, and I prefer not to deliver that draft until I receive the final agreement that's been essentially agreed to between the city and my client. So anyway, I'm sure we're going to see each other again on more than one occasion. Happy to answer any questions tonight in terms of the process. I'm not an engineer, so I can't tell you about how this is all going to work, but I just know it does. Because I was the attorney for the Michigan City Sanitary District for many, many years with private sewer agreements, outside the city limits, force main systems, etc. Certainly, as I said before, not asking for any money from the town. These folks and the client are 100% privately funding it. Will be maintaining it. City of Michigan City will also maintain it, their portion. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions and hopefully schedule something and keep us on the agenda for the following months as it progresses through the public hearing process.
Thank you. I will comment because I absolutely have empathy for the homeowners.
Yes.
Right? They were granted permits to build homes.
Yes.
Now, lake erosion, lake change has definitely impacted that, which we can't control, but it's been an ebb and flow of the lake forever. As a child growing up here, we used to name seawalls Slippery Rock, and we would meet there because we knew that the seaweed grew. I can say I'm also no longer going to be on council. You're coming in December. We're about ready to change faces on the council. So you're going to have to probably get engaged because I myself, like many, have so many questions. But
Happy to answer them all.
well, yes, but now is not the time, or that I think we I put together some questions. I think we shared them. And you probably need to see them, you and the homeowners, because it's maintaining it. It's change of ownerships of homes. It's a problem within the septic that the street needs to be dug up in 3 years or 5 years, and who then manages and maintains. What type of monies will be set aside into a fund for long-term maintenance on such a project? So there's so many questions I too have. But again, in December, I'm not going to be on council. I'm just going to be a regular citizen come next year. So I'll leave it up to the wise people we have elected to maintain this to carry on. So I wish you all the best of luck because it is a big project.
It is, and it's environmentally the right thing to do. We all know it's the right thing to do. There's always inconvenience when there's progress to be made, and we're not going to try to inconvenience anyone unnecessarily. But certainly, when streets are dug up for water, for instance, they're dug up. People are inconvenienced to a certain degree. Try to minimize that. We'll have, obviously we've got an engineer, we've got a plan. That plan, I think, when they first came to the town a couple of years ago, before we got, and as I recall, before I got involved in it, I would see the markings along Chastleton Drive, along Lakeshore Drive. So this isn't something that has just sprung to life in the last 60, 90 days or 30 days. It's been ongoing for quite some time and discussed for quite some time.
Absolutely, I'd love to have a swimming pool in my backyard, not my septic, but it's not my choice.
Right. So, and so we're going to try to answer all the questions to your satisfaction, or even if not, we're still going to ask for permission. and that's why we're here.
Thank you.
So,
I really think your idea of a public workshop is going to be necessary.
sure, and whether it's daytime, nighttime, both day and night, so that people can come, answer questions, more than happy to be able to do that. We'll have our engineer to answer some of those technical questions. Clients are here, also with respect to some financials, if you want to see financials, all of that. Those are good questions. I certainly appreciate them. If we had in advance, we'd be able to know.
They keep coming up though.
Absolutely, write it down. My email address is teambergy@comcast.net, teambergy@comcast.net, and any questions that someone has that wants to write them into us, we'll have answers for you at these workshops, and we prefer if we could start scheduling these things in the next, before the next, certainly the next council meeting, one or more, or, as many as you like, until all these questions are answered. And I'll certainly have that agreement in hand before the next one too. I'm waiting for the Michigan City Sanitary District Attorney to get that to me.
Okay.
I have one question. You said there's 5 homes? Weren't there originally 6 homes?
I think there was originally, it's planned for 10.
No, I know, but did someone drop out of the proposed LLC or is it still?
Not since I've been involved. I mean, there may have been.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I don't know.
Okay.
So there could well have been 6. I just don't know.
Point of clarification here to our attorney, the town's attorney, is that there's been no obligation made by this town. There's no precedence before that there's any obligation that we could go through this whole exercise, and the answer could be simply no.
To their request, yes, there's nothing there's no agreement to date.
I would point out, this town has previously consented to use of city streets for sewer extensions into the town.
It doesn't change my response. I mean, there isn't an agreement, and the town does have previous private sewer agreements.
So,
Joy, will you work with Mr. Bergerson to schedule workshops, or with Chief, or?
Sure.
I think we need that agreement first.
Do you want?
Yeah, I don't want to do anything till we see the agreement.
Okay.
okay,
Great, I just want to make
that's
sure.
fair.
And then, yeah, I'm willing to schedule whatever.
Hopefully before the end of the week. I got a call in, again, another call in today, but I know the holidays, etc. We'll have it before the end of the week.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Police Department Commission, Chief Swistek.
Good evening. For the month of November, the Long Beach Police Department responded to 355 calls for service when compared to 215 calls in the previous year, for an increase of 140 calls for service. The majority of those were an increase in traffic enforcement in all 3 communities that we provide police service to. Also, during the month of November, 14 incident reports were documented. A total of 4 individuals were arrested. 3 misdemeanor arrests for operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, and 1 misdemeanor arrest for possession of marijuana. There is one particular incident I would like to bring to the attention of everyone that occurred back on November 24th. We were called to assist the Michigan City Police Department just off of Moore Road in the 200 block of Shoreland Drive. There was a residential home there that was vacant for some time. It was burglarized over a period of more than likely several days. The home was found to be pretty much emptied out by the suspects. I cannot stress enough, if you are planning on leaving town for an extended period of time, we do provide at no cost to our residents periodic house checks that we will provide for you. You just need to contact us by email or call into the office, or let your neighbors know that you're going to be gone for a period of time. Because in the case in the city of Michigan City, when we were assisting the Michigan City Police Department, they were able to give a description of a vehicle that was seen over a period of a couple days. And it sounds like they continually kept coming back because they were not caught, found that nobody was home. and then they pretty much took the contents of the home. So again, we're getting into that season where many of our residents are either going off on vacation or leaving for their primary homes. So please share this information and make sure you keep your police department informed, because we can't help you if we do not know. There was no police commission meeting. We'll be meeting next month.
Thank you. Town Administrator, Chief Swistek.
I got a couple of things on the agenda tonight, but I also want to touch on a couple of topics. We met with the Indiana Department of Transportation today over at the INDOT office on Boyd Boulevard in LaPorte City. We're pleased to share with the council that our recent grant that we were awarded for the federal highway funds, originally we were under the understanding that was a 75%, 25% match. That being 25% of the program needed to have funds from the town. It was a $72,000 project that we'll be doing next spring to improve our pavement markings for center lane markings, stop bars, pedestrian crossings across the town. So that sum of $72,000 was awarded to us. Originally, we were under the understanding that we would be responsible for about $18,000. Today, we learned that our match for that will only be 10%. So it'll be about $7,200. We will have some additional costs for engineering and construction management, but this project will be tied to our community crossings paving grant in the spring that is currently being managed by Haas Engineering. So that's some positive news we received today. Snow operations, snowplow trucks are ready to go. Salt has been moved around our facility. We're getting ready to place an order with Cargill for additional road salt for our community. So weather dependent over the next couple of weeks will determine what we order prior to January 1. As we discussed at our last meeting, we'll be coming in front of the council first quarter of next year to address the current salt barn. If you haven't already, I would encourage the council members to take a drive back into the facility off of Chastleton Drive. Take a look at our current salt barn, and you'll see why we are asking for the new salt barn in 2025. Two primary reasons. One, the condition is deteriorating, the current building, and two, we store about 200 tons of road salt currently. We need to store 600 tons of road salt, so therefore there's a need for a much larger facility. The postcard went out last week. If you haven't already, you'll be receiving it in the mail. The town's postcard has information how you can sign up for newsletters, road closures, other important information from the town. I know in public comment earlier there was mention about sharing of information, and that I cannot stress enough. If you aren't signed up on the website for e-alerts, you're going to miss a lot of that very important information, so please do sign up. Leaf collection was completed last week on December 2nd, and we had much greater success this year as far as no issues with pumpkins, large sticks, concrete block. It's amazing some of the things we used to see in the leaf piles out there. I spoke to both Dan Healy and Tom, and we're both very pleased how the operations went this year. So, had a couple of issues with the leaf vacs. As you know, we have 3 leaf vac machines. 2 of them were down for a few days due to maintenance issues, and we'll be coming before the council first quarter of next year, looking to replace the 2003 leaf vac machine that we have with a new collection machine next year. Septic update. I met with Stewart Septic today along with our street and water department. As you can tell, construction is underway out front of the town hall. Weather dependent, we're hoping to wrap this project up in the next 2 weeks. We've had a few setbacks either due to weather or materials being delivered. The good news is we have passed our first inspection with the LaPorte County Health Department. Last week I spoke to Julie with the Health Department. She came out, took measurements, I spoke with her personally. She's very pleased how the project is coming along at this time. We hope to be boring underneath Oriole Trail in the next 2 to 3 days. There was a setback on that because the contractor that will be performing that work had yet to get his bond into the town. So therefore I delayed that work, waiting to make sure we have his bond before we proceed with that. So once the building department approves the bond, we'll then commence the work of boring underneath Oriole Trail. And then again, in the spring, we're gonna have some landscaping work that needs to be done on both the park side and the town side. And in my conversations with Tom today, they're recommending that come spring, from the eastern portion here of the town hall, that we probably replace that with sod. Would probably be the fastest to have the town hall looking good for the summer. And then also looking at mowing operations and that, I think will be much better if we lay sod down and try and plant seed out there. Because I think our heavy mowers will tear up that pretty quickly. And then lastly, for everybody in attendance tonight, just like when you go to your favorite sports team, we have a nice little gift for you in the back of the room. There is a recyclable bag to take with you when you go out grocery shopping or anything else. Help yourself in the bag to one of the bags from the town.
The town that gives.
Other than that, happy holidays, everyone.
I have a quick question, Chief.
Yes.
It was about the postcard, and I'm not sure, Meg, that this is anything that you can do, but thank you, because again, in reaching out to the residents, this was fabulous. And Meg, I just didn't know if there's any way, your office has been very impressive in gathering emails. I think you said we're over 900, I think, or close, and I'm just curious.
We're at about 1,200.
We're at about 1,200, fabulous. I just wondered if you noticed any uptick or anything like that, and not that it was necessary.
Comments that individuals that have received them before.
And again, I just kudos on gathering the
Communication
emails.
is good. People like to know what's going on. Whenever possible. So.
Thank you.
Then the winter edition of our newsletter will be going out on Wednesday. The fall newsletter, the fall newsletter that went out, we received many compliments on that. Kayla, our new administrative assistant's done a phenomenal job putting together the winter newsletter as well. So we'll get that out on Wednesday. And again, as long as you sign up for the e-alerts, you'll see the newsletter through your email.
And just one last comment too. You heard Chief mention community crossing and grant for the restriping of many of our streets. I think we've done an excellent job in the community, and thank you to your diligence, because you'll also hear later a CCMG grant for helping us pave some of our streets that are duly needed. I mean, they are horrible. Just drive into town and you'll see that. So thank you for that, and I will assume in the spring a lot of coordination will go into effect to get the right streets paved, the right streets marked, and not have, let's call it, streets marked and then needed to be torn up to be paved. So that'll all be coordinated, but it could be good coordination also for the sewer projects and things like that, because Lake Shore will be in the future, not part of this project at this time. But I think you'll hear more of it, so that's more of a comment to the community more than it is a question. Thank you, Mark, for that.
Well, and also speaking of grants, and it'll be in the winter newsletter, our administrative assistant, Kayla, took it upon herself a couple weeks ago. I received information probably about 2 months ago from NIPSCO. They had a grant opportunity for communities. We applied. It was up to $5,000. Kayla applied for a $3,800 grant. We were successful and received $3,800 for our summer day camp next year. We're going to put on a 5-day session, just like public safety, health and wellness, bike safety, just teaching the kids from both police and fire. The fire department's going to partner with us. And one of the great things with the $3,800 grant, no cost to the town whatsoever. And at the end of our class, we'll be giving away a free bicycle to one of the boys and girls in the class to take home for the summer as well, all courtesy of NIPSCO through the grant that we applied for.
Okay, thank you. Volunteer Fire Department, I think I saw Tom here.
Yep, you got me tonight. Dave is instructing some of our members tonight with some training. As of the end of November, the Long Beach Fire Department has responded to 197 calls versus 159 a year ago. So we're running at a 20% increase year over year for fire and medical calls. On the fire side, we've run 89 calls this year versus 71 a year ago. Average turnout on a typical fire call is 8 members. Our average response time on fire calls is 4.3 minutes. On the medical side, we've responded to 108 medical calls versus 88 a year ago. Our typical response, we typically get six people or more on any medical call. Our response time is 4.1 minutes on the medical side. So all in all, it's been a pretty substantial year for us. In the month of November alone, we ran 17 calls, and we continue to get calls during the month of December. Just a couple of points. We ran a CPR class on November 30th for members of the fire department. We ran a test run of doing a CPR class so we could do it for the public. We plan to run a couple of these courses over each year once our public safety building is ready for people. And Mark tells us in about 2 weeks, hopefully we'll be able to entertain a larger audience and actually be able to use the facility to its advantage. But CPR class was very successful, and we're looking forward to running those for members of the community to do American Red Cross certified CPR. As I mentioned, Mr. Albert's not here tonight. We're doing our annual proficiency tests, so all our firefighter members are going through practical things on using all the tools, driving the trucks, things like that. You'll see the truck driving around quite a bit this evening, and as we do that on an annual basis to test all of our members, not to see who's the best and all that, but we're going to find out what we really need to train them on. So you'll see a lot of that going on. A lot of members down at the fire station firing up chainsaws and things like that. I talked about 197 calls this year. Over 50 of those calls were fire alarm calls. And I just want to put a plea out to those that have fire alarms that are automatically set up into a 911 center. If you're not home and you did not designate a key holder or some way to get into that house, the fire department's been called and we're going to find a way to get into your house. So my plea is that if you have a fire alarm, it is set up to an alarm system, goes directly to the 911 center, and you have not established a key holder with a neighbor, please contact the police department and give us a way to get access to your home. We spend a lot of late evenings trying to track people down, working with the police department, trying to track people down, to just figure out how we can get into their house because their alarms are going off and we've been called. So that's my plea to anybody that has an alarm system that is set up to a 911 center. Please ensure that the authorities have a way to get in. Last thing, some people have asked questions about ice rink. We have, for years, we have done an ice rink out in the park. We continue to monitor the weather and determining whether or not we're going to go through the effort of doing that. We thought it was getting really cold about a week ago, and now it's warm again. And so we're continuing to evaluate the weather on whether or not we can set that up again in the park. So more to come on that. But Fire Commission did not meet, so.
Tom, as you know, I know that the deer like the, that's always a concern that when it melts, the deer get in there and drink.
They
so
do.
I think
It's a bad
that one
time
year
for deer.
right, and it tears up the bottom. So that's, I don't know, I hope we can always still have an ice rink, but
Yeah.
it's not looking good.
We didn't do it last year
Yeah.
because the weather was so warm, and we continue to look at that. So.
Yeah, I had a couple questions. So, Dave and Mr. Alvarez, over the last couple of meetings, we've talked about the alarm issue. And I think the ordinance, did you find it? It said something about four fire calls. So it's something that we're continuing to address. So thank you for bringing it up. And I realized after Dave mentions all the time key holders, what exactly, I'm like, what if I'm not home? Who's my key holder? So what do we do?
Could be your neighbor.
But should we contact the police department? And then I'm asking for residents too, like, am I supposed to contact the police department and say, here's where my hidden key is? Or, I mean, what
That
are
would be
your
my recommendation
suggestions?
rather than the fire department. I would, as a homeowner here, I would contact the police department and say, here's how you get into my house.
Okay.
Mark, you can comment on that. So.
On our records management system, all of our officers have in-car computers, so what we can do is if you provide us with information for a key holder, we put what is called an address advisory onto your address. So when your address comes up in our in-car computers, it'll tell us that there's a key holder that lives next door at 2400 Royal Trail. So if you're not home, then we would go next door, knock on your neighbor's home. If they're not home, then we resort to getting on the cell phone through our water department registry. Anyone that is getting a water bill from the town, we, the police department, use water department information to contact our homeowners. So if you haven't in some time, update your either email and cell phone to your water department, because we have a master list that we keep in our in-car computers that we pull everything up out in the field.
I would also suggest there are key boxes that you can also get as a homeowner that have combination locks on them. If you put a key in the key box and give the combination to the police department, then we would be able to access that pretty quickly.
Okay, and then my only other comment is there's actually a sign on Chastleton that talks about fire vehicles exiting and entering when they used to be in the maintenance building area.
We still do up there.
Do you still do that? Okay, that's what I was just checking on. So you did, that's what I thought you did, the fuel.
That was what that was for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works, Kendra.
Texting the chat. Public Works, so we met on December 2nd. Waiting on some dilling still from Woodruff on the stormwater project from stop 17 and 18. Meg, you're probably aware of that, but that billing hasn't come in yet. The F-550 truck that is going to be replaced won't be ready until July of 2025. And Mark mentioned a new leaf vacuum that the town was going to probably need to purchase or look into in first quarter next year. And then the Public Works Board is looking at making an increase to the water rates for the town. It's one of the cheapest in the states, and we're gonna reach out to, Mark may have already, to Cinder and Associates, ask for some help with that. Meg too, I'm sure you'll probably be involved, but to see kind of where we need to be, because right now the revenue we have really coming in isn't enough, and certainly not enough going forward with things like replacements and valve replacements, line replacements, things like that. So that's going to be to come, but I think they were saying there at least 10 years, if not more, there hasn't been a water rate increase. So it's, I'm sure, going to be nothing drastic, but we just need to be mindful and make sure we're funding it properly. So that's in the works. That's it.
Thank you. Park Board, Kendra.
Park Board is still looking to replace Sarah Plooster, who was the camp director, and they've got several strong candidates for that. So they're going to be scheduling interviews shortly. Question, I guess maybe for Chris, does somebody on the committee need to be involved and sit in on those interviews, or can the Park Board just do it? They're good? Okay. Okay. Have at it, Paul. The encroachment trees at Stop 29 that were planted have all been removed, thankfully. Only took about 3 years, but awesome, they're gone. So the Park Board's gonna plant something in the spring, and as well as add a small run of fencing to delineate the property line. So it'll be something native, beach grass or something that will look good there, keep the soil in place and not impede any views of the lake and the beach and stuff. And Park Board is working on a large scope project for a full replacement of the tennis courts. The surface has been treated, painted, and cracks filled several times, and dead spots still remain that make it very difficult to play on. So they're well aware of this, and it's not an easy fix. So they're working on several options, and they'll do a publicity blitz when they're ready to take public comments. But as always, public comments in the meetings are always welcome in emails, but there's just nothing formal yet to really present, but always send your comments to the Park Board or come to the meetings, but they'll do a good job of telling people when there's a little bit more information on that. But I'll just read some of the options that they're looking at right now. Again, all in preliminary stages, but option 1, permanent tennis court on the west side as it sits today, tennis court lines only, 4 permanent pickleball courts on the east side with permanent nets and barriers in between the courts. This will prevent the need for portable nets. This option would widen the court area to the east and would require some tree mitigation. Option 2, replace the courts as we see them today, plus the addition of 2 new pickleball courts to the east. This would significantly widen the courts and require quite a bit more tree removal. This would also be more costly. Other possible options to be considered are out there, and they have some rough quotes so far. They're working on the architectural drawings, and most importantly, money. The Park Board is not going to have the funding to complete this project on our own, but the tennis pickleball courts are very high use town asset and definitely need to be replaced. So the Park Board will be coming to the council or working with Meg, or however we can see if there's a way to move money around or how we need to fund that. And the Park Board would definitely like to send a huge thank you to Cindy Levy for her volunteer service on the Parks Board. She's been a huge asset, and they're going to miss her. She's leaving the Park Board she'll be sitting up here starting January 1st. Congratulations to her and the town council, so she'll be up here. And lastly, the December park board meeting is canceled due to it being on Christmas Eve. So they'll meet again in January.
Yeah, seriously? Where's the dedication?
That's it.
Thank you. Community Center, Anita?
Community Center did not meet in December, but I just want to remind all the residents that last month the council approved what was already in the budget to a demolition for and construction of a handicap accessible bathroom area in the community center. So construction is going to start at some point, just with the holiday season and different scheduling, but that'll be a huge addition to the community center.
Thank you. Budget and Finance, Meg?
Budget and Finance met on December 4th. Monthly financials were distributed after the meeting, but before the council meeting. We went over the capital plan and where we are at with year-end projects. An update on the capital asset project will be discussed later on the agenda this evening. A rainy day fund transfer year-end will be discussed at the year-end council meeting. And Mark's touched on that earlier. Our last payroll will be on December 20th. So the entries for additional appropriations for capital items that will hopefully be approved later this evening on the second read. I would make then the entries needed after those appropriations, and we would be putting together a transfer resolution for the year-end meeting. And this transfers some budget from lines with excess budget and cleans up our expense lines, so we don't have any negatives on our year-end financials. So that would come before the board at that final December meeting. It could have been prepared for tonight, but it will be even cleaner with that year-end meeting. The second year tax levy, property tax levy disbursement notice was received today. So it will hit, it should come into our account in the next day or two. So that's good news. And we actually are paying for many of the year-end items, some of our bonds and debt, public safety lease, everything planned, and it's going smoothly. So our next meeting will either be January 1st or 8th in the new year, depending on the council and who will sit on this board. We may change our day and or time, and that will be just decided in January with the new council.
Thank you. Human Resources, JD.
Yeah, we had a meeting on November 20th. Next meeting, December 18th.
Okay. Any questions? Great meeting.
I don't think so.
Very productive. Okay. Tree Board,
I'll
Ellen?
comment that we just continue to work on the handbook, and by concept, put together a nice spreadsheet on some items that we're still working on. So.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's on.
It was.
Oh, sorry. There it is. The tree board met on Wednesday, December 4th. Some follow-up of the tree trimming and removal that we've given to Maple City, which will be starting soon. Yeah. I've notified the residents that it would be all the residents who were next to where these trees were, so they know that was coming. It was very nice. I got some comments back that they were happy that we were communicating that, which I'm sure you did too, Chief. I also notified the tree companies that did not get the bid, but they were very gracious and glad that they were asked to be involved. I would like to put like a short survey out to the residents once the work is done, just kind of as a community outreach, did they do a good job? Were they courteous? Whatever, just something to let them know that we're paying attention, that we're doing work in front of their house. Let's see. Oh, I had a question because I keep reading other tree board things. Do we check on tree companies' insurance before they do current work? Do we always make sure that their insurance and everything is current and that it hasn't lapsed or anything before they do work for us? Just,
Mary? Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
That's a part of our contractor registration process.
Okay, good. So I've been reading. other tree ordinances. So, and we are going to be updating just a few sections of our tree ordinance. We want to make sure that the ordinance, what's said in the ordinance matches the exhibits. We want to make sure the exhibit A and B, which are about the trees, ones that are nuisance and ones that are native to the area, that they're not on both lists, which we have found that to be true. And then we're going to rewrite the section, because this all came about when we were doing this tree thing about how one thing we want to add to the language to our section 9911 is language pertaining to private property trees that should not be removed or trimmed in accordance with any Indiana DNR warnings that are being given out. I think we can, the most likely way to enforce this is to tell the tree companies and the landscape companies that we would like them to obey those DNR warnings and to notify them of that. And, you know, just the oak wilt was one thing. Because it's great that we said no, but if people are doing it, it's still going to cause the community something, those kinds of things. So but then they will all have to be passed by you guys once we do this redo. And then we're gonna, we had in there too, when we were going to talk to, let people know that we were doing work in front of their house, that we were gonna send certified mail 14 days before doing it, which is kind of, this is Long Beach, not Chicago. So to make something a little more, and as it turned out, the whole email thing, one person was not on the list of all the stuff that had, there was only one person that we didn't have the email. And thank you, Kayla, the shining angel department. So she found all those for us. So, so we want to make the ordinance reflect how we will contact people. And another question, monetary penalties, because it's been brought to my attention, you know, can people clear cut their property? Yes, they can, but they can't clear cut trees that are on town property. And then when we look at the fines, they, the first offense is 500, the second offense is blah, blah, blah. So what do we do? Should we have something written differently if someone just comes in and clear cuts and takes 6 trees down because they're clear cutting the whole property? Anybody has a lot of money, $500 is a drop in. I just wonder if we could have something more for like a mass cutting kind of thing into the fines for the yeah, so that won't happen. So
That's a good idea, like $500 per tree.
Right, yeah, you know, as it is now, anything that happens, it kind of is general to the whole ordinance. You know, if they do something, we fine them, you know, $500, you know, on and on. But the mat, you know, when people come in and just clear up because they're gonna build a home and all that, that's wonderful. They can cut all the trees they want down on their property, but they can't cut ours. And we sent out it became our fall-winter newsletter, and we've talked to Kayla, and we're gonna add our letter section or whatever into the chief's newsletter, so everything will come at one newsletter, everything, all the information will be there. And Kayla's helping us with that, as well as Jan, so anyway, and that's it. Any questions?
I have a comment. I started going to tree board meetings some years ago. And I just want to compliment you because you came in even after I was going, and the tree board has done tremendous work, and it just shows what can be accomplished in this town when you get people who are interested and who act, who don't just delegate. You and Janice Brown, Ellen was out there today decorating. The lights around here and the trees are Ellen and
Janice Brown, sous chef.
Right, and Sue Keenan and your board members. Your board members are active, they're engaged.
Yeah.
And it has just made a huge difference.
Yeah, it was a pretty new ordinance when we came in because we joined it and we had someone else that was running the board. So, and we got to create what the tree board does. So that's been kind of fun, just talking to people and seeing what we can do to.
But just in terms of the newsletter and in people knowing that we have a tree board, they know that there is something all of a sudden. So I just want to say you're one of the boards that has just really, really stepped up. So.
Thank you. We had a lot of nice comments on our little tree left.
I did like that too.
Yeah, it does. We kind of get into little this, little that. So yes, you can take those vines off your tree. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen. The building commission meeting for this Friday has been canceled, and their next meeting will be January 10th. However, we did meet because training has begun on the new iWork system, the new building department software, and it's going to be a big change for the town. So I just want to tell everybody to please be patient. It's going to take us a while to work through it all, but we'll get there. And it's going to make everything more streamlined, a lot easier. We won't be able to accept partial permits anymore. Everything's going to have to be there, or it won't even get to us. So
Who gets trained on that? All you guys plus like, okay.
the only people that, right now, the only people who can change anything in there are Larry, Honor, and Carter.
Okay.
And the building commissioners, well, anybody actually will be able to look up information.
But the training is for mostly
The training,
Carter, Larry, and Honor.
right.
Okay.
And we'll probably include Meg and Deanna as well, because they take the money.
Yeah, gotcha, okay.
I just had that was my other comment about a group that has really worked together. Honor came into the town 3 years ago, maybe, I can't remember, but initially into the clerk treasurer's office, and she joined forces with Larry Wall, who worked through his contract with the prior council, and then with the new building commissioner, Carter Dravis. And I sit on the building commission, but again, having gone to meetings before then and just seeing the progress and how people are learning what you can and can't do, and the software will be a big training issue, but they'll be able to work through it, and people will be able to work here. And I just want to, just thank the building commission. I sit on it. It's a lot of work for the people involved, particularly Larry, Honor, and Carter. So I think they're really trying to bring the town into, and keep the town, not bring it into, but keep it maintaining the ordinances and making sure that people know what they're supposed to do and they do what they're supposed to do to get their permits. So thank you.
Any more comments? Okay, DZA, they meet this Wednesday for a public hearing, which is set for a proposed liquor store on Chastleton by Hacienda. So anybody who has any opinion on that, if you can go to the meeting, that would be great. If you can't, you can email anybody on the board or on the BZA, and they will read your comments into the record.
They can email me and then I can distribute it to the board. I don't believe those emails are on the website. So email Clerk Collins.
Okay. Yes.
Letters/emails.
Okay. Yeah, email the
There
clerk.
has been many residents wanting to know about this petition. So the meeting may have a good amount of residents in attendance.
Okay.
In person or on Zoom.
Okay, sounds good. So if you have any comments and you can't make the meeting, please email them to Clerk Collins. Thank you. APC, Anita?
APC did not meet in November, and we will be meeting a week from tonight, December 16th.
Thank you. Building revenue report, Meg.
For November 2024, there were 17 permits issued totaling $391,990 with revenue of $4,290. For electric permits issued totaling $1,063. Legal expenses paid in November to Gracie Nelson James of $10,158.90. And county charges paid to Senator and Company $6,243.59. May I ask for a motion from council to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve those expenses.
I'll second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Unfinished business, ordinance number 2024-10, additional appropriations in excess of current budget on second reading. Do we have a motion?
to approve on second reading.
I'll make a motion to approve on second reading.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Ordinance number 2024-11, new garbage rates for refuse collection services on second reading.
Madam President, may I add, before you entertain any motions?
Yeah.
As alluded to by Clerk Treasurer last month, there was an amendment to 9604, which took out some inconsistent language regarding accumulation of funds and what they went, applying them to other costs, because the way this ordinance is suggested now in the contract that you have is projected out 3 years. So not the way that was set up before was for an annual review and directing how the payments were. So that is, it was amendment to 9604 as discussed by Meg last month, but otherwise it's set for the rates that were proposed, and now the entire ordinance is consistent with the new path that you guys are taking with establishing those fees.
Okay.
And I do have one more item to just bring up on this ordinance. The section right above the one Chris just referenced, 96.03 under buildings, there is a paragraph detailing pickup if you are also serviced by the Michigan City Sanitation Department. And after doing some research, there are currently 4 homes left that receive Long Beach pickup on Monday and also Michigan City pickup on Wednesday. I was able to reach out to 2 out of the 4 homeowners. The 4th homeowner's phone number is not a good one. The 3rd one, after calling twice, I still just haven't talked with, didn't call me back. The first 2, one of them prefers Monday after the weekend, otherwise is okay with either and would just make that change. The other out of habit has just kept both all of these years. I think years ago, the 75 homes back there kind of phased this out at some point. And then there's just these few last homes that the way the ordinance reads is that if they're serviced by Michigan City, Long Beach would then not service them. So we can leave this language and just address, it's not costing the town any money if we change from the 1,040 that we bill currently, it would lessen by 4 homes to 1,036. I'm okay either way, it was just something that came up.
So when you spoke to the homeowner, you kind of informed them that they would not get Monday and only Wednesday?
What the office knew of this is that as these homes sell, that whoever purchases it is not offered Long Beach trash service. So I don't know if we need to change the ordinance or if we just address with these 4 homeowners, 2 of which I spoke with, who are okay either way.
Well, the ordinance says that you shall not provide services, so you are providing services and need to make a determination on how you want to go about. After talking to the clerk treasurer, it seems like this is just one of those over time. It happens in agreement through the clerk treasurer, previous administrations, that how these will be handled or grandfathered. I don't really want to use that term because just because somebody says that was so doesn't mean the council decided that. So ultimately, it's what your pleasure is. But Meg's correct in that right now it says because they receive X, they're not going to get services from the town.
Whose obligation would it be if they chose Long Beach and we revised the ordinance? Is it the homeowner then responsible to contact Michigan City to say they're no longer receiving Michigan City?
They probably, I don't think they'll probably be able to change it. That will be something that's separate, 2 different jurisdictions.
So these last 4 residents simply pay for both trash services. And our driver goes back there for these 4 homes.
They're paying Long Beach now. All 4 are paying Long Beach now.
Correct. As far as I know, yes.
Well, so the simple fix could be to leave those 4 as just to add to that last sentence unless otherwise agreed to, or unless they opt in for town services, and then that covers it. Because then they could opt out either way.
And I'm unsure, I'm unsure of what exactly took place when, you know, this many years ago, it's been many years, a letter was sent to those homeowners and that council decided to, go about it this way.
So I guess the question is, do we want to make a change to this ordinance?
I don't think, it just seems like
Well, it sounds like we have to make a change. It's what level of change. So it has to be an added sentence
Well, you
that,
have to change the ordinance or discontinue.
Or discontinue
Yes.
service?
But you use just those words as otherwise agreed to,
Yeah,
which seems
unless
to
they
make
not
sense.
agree.
Yeah,
which could be an easy.
that would seem to be a very easy fix, that you don't have to be specific about it. There's no agreement. It's just
And I
as
can
otherwise
still-
agreed to.
Like I said, 2 of the 4, the one said that he likes Monday because it's after the weekend, but he would, if the service is taken away, then so be it. The other said it's just habit, and they're okay either way to switch. The other 2 I haven't spoken with yet.
So those 4 words seem to cover it. And then I just had a couple typos. One was in the removal, which is in the title of the ordinance. Removal.
Vote stop service or vote amend the ordinance, right? I mean, those are the 2 options.
We have to leave figure and read it.
Yeah, somebody back, that was it. That one fits. Is there another?
And then leaf pick up chapter 96, and then 9601, leaf pick is put together. That just needs to be separated. Here, I can give you mine. It's right there. Okay.
Already been from last year.
All right, thank you.
So does this need to be amended before we have it on the second reading? Is my
No, I think that it can be done as we're talking now. So the beauty is I can turn it off after the meeting. You can sign it. So I think you have to make a decision if there's a motion to amend it and add unless property owners opt to have town services, or there's a motion that says you want them to discontinue.
Well, if again, I don't know what happened in the past, there are only these 4 homes left as these homes have sold.
I don't know
So-
why we are bothering to do these 4 homes.
Yeah,
I think we
correct.
would leave the ordinance as is and say we're not going to do it.
Correct.
I think so too.
But, so that's it. If we approve it now on second reading, we notify those 4, they are no longer getting Monday services, town service.
Or we add in, the other option is that we add in is otherwise agreed to, and then as they fall out, they fall out.
But does that mean then someone
Well,
could
someone
agree
could
to
opt
a
in.
new one?
No, it just, no, we would not, I
Leaving the
mean,
door open.
we would not agree. Well, but that would be up to the clerk treasurer's office to say no, whoever manages that. I'm just saying the other option.
I'm not sure what actually was agreed to. This was just my,
I think we leave it the same and we tell them we're not going to go out there for 4 homes.
I second
I make a
that.
motion to approve the second reading as it's written.
Sorry. Keep me going.
Oh, sorry, I thought I spoke loud enough that carries. I make a motion to approve the second reading as it is written today and notify those 4 their services have been ended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. New business, year-end meeting date. We need to have a meeting at the end of the year to wrap everything up. And I would like to suggest Monday, 12/30/24 at 5:30.
Can you say that date one more time?
Monday, 12/30/24. It's the Monday after Christmas at 5:30 PM.
Isn't that when you're getting sworn in?
Does that work?
With the swearing date? Yeah. For the new
Yeah, it's going to be at the end of the meeting.
I think
I'm available.
We need to have 3 people available. I'm available.
It's not 12:20, so I think I'm available.
12:30.
Yep. I said not 12, I'm good.
Oh,
Yeah, I can't necessarily, I mean, I've that doctor's appointment that day, so I can probably be there, but I don't want to be the 3rd person, because if that doctor's appointment and I get stuck in Chicago, then I'm gonna miss it.
Okay,
So as long as you're
so
there.
no one else can make it?
Are you a guaranteed third, Shannon?
I will be a guaranteed 3rd
Okay,
on
okay.
12:30 at 5:30
Okay.
PM.
We have at least 3 people, so we're good.
Meg, could you post that meeting on the website?
Sure.
New law, live streaming of meetings, recordings available. Chief Swishta? Great.
There was review, Chief, in his notifications, I think, noticed a business ultimately fishing for business for help with municipalities, but in review of the update to requirements for your meetings and live streaming, et cetera. I think between Chief and myself and Meg and Paul, everybody's determined that the town was covered in compliance.
But I would ask that the future council that I won't be on does add this as a priority for future to improve our meeting space, call it what we want, acoustics, turning mics on and off, and so I do encourage us to continue the drive to improve our situation regardless of law or not. So.
Well, and one other thing that I think it's important for new council to emphasize with tree board, for instance, since you're still here, everybody has to comply with this that falls under that ordinance. So just like we put out notices when the laws changed coming out of COVID that you could have members appear electronically if you fall in certain categories, and assuming that each board, commission, et cetera, adopted an appropriate resolution, this requirement doesn't just apply to the town council, it applies to other bodies as well. So we need to make sure that we educate everybody who's not necessarily part of the bigger show, right, once a month, and that there's meeting space that's available, and you know, being able to
My
stream.
office handle that in the new year, work with Joey on when the boards get updated, if there's any changes. The one board, community center, that meets at that building in the past has brought a computer and recorded it there, and then.
Except the live streaming is the live streaming is going to be something.
But if it's using our Zoom, isn't that still?
Yeah, as long as it's live streaming. So going forward, just making sure that the statute is pretty straightforward. Just gonna make sure everybody's in compliance.
I think it's good to note that, that Shannon, that you're saying, let's continue to move forward with improving and, you know, microphones and different things, and that probably would have been included in part of the budget process that took place during the last several months. So I'm sure that the council that will be here January 1st will certainly look to improve things, but anything that would have been costly should have been brought up in the budget for 2025.
One of the things I want to do is I want to work with Paul as we move into the new year, and just kind of post-COVID, we put this all together kind of last minute, and it's worked for us. I'd like to mount the TV that we have there, so we'll all clean up everything that's below it, you know, maybe do something different with our camera system. Back behind the council, maybe put up like a 65-inch monitor so those in attendance can see everything on Zoom that's there. Work on, I know Paul had a plan for the microphone system and that. Try to keep the cost down on it and then get something in front of the council next year. So as the winter kind of slows things down in town government, Paul and I will get together, and I'll get Paul out of the house and over here, and we'll do a little bit of work in here and some fine tuning, and we'll see what we can do.
No rest for the wicked.
You can't travel as much as we or fly.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Employee health savings account payment schedule. I don't know. JD?
Meg.
Oh, Meg.
Hi, I can speak on this one. So each year for any employees that are enrolled in the health insurance plan, they get, depending on if it's just employee plus spouse, family, they get a certain amount put into their health savings account. The current ordinance related to the health savings account puts that money in on January 1st. I think it's probably not typically been any issue, and council can, this is just giving you information, you can think about it and decide For example, one employee that resigned happened to do it this year in January. So that employee was given the full health savings amount, and then, is no longer employed with Long Beach. So just, you can think it through on possibly doing the payment twice per year. Quarterly might be excessive. Some of the employees, a lot of them have come to rely on this at the beginning of the year. But for the town's sake, and if somebody retires, do we, let's say, our next, anybody set to retire has been with Long Beach for many years, so does that matter to the town if we're out, $1,500 or what it might be for a 30-year employee that got paid in January and leaves in April, for example. So, Mark, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to share some of the comments that were shared with me from some of the employees. They asked, one, that we consider to keep it as is and make no change, or if we were to make a change, to go to no more than 2 payments a year. Like if we did one in January, then another one, let's say June or July. The majority of them, though, would like to see it stay as is, because at least one of the individuals I spoke to has several dependents. They see a lot of medical bills in January, February, March, first quarter, and therefore they're dependent on, the monies that they receive in their HSA as one of their employee benefits. Last year was kind of a unforeseen thing. We weren't aware of, Sergeant Schooley's retirement. It was kind of just dropped on us kind of last minute, but well-deserved after 27 years, so, earned retirement. The other 2 were resignations of employees that were unplanned as well. So aside from that, on a normal year, we don't seem to experience what we experienced in 2024.
Correct. So we can simply leave it in January. Council can, again, with that information, decide if you would like to put it to twice per year.
Can we change it at any time? Like, when do we need to make this decision?
Well, usually we would pay it beginning of January, so you could decide by the year-end meeting. We would wait to do it until...
But it's a budgeted amount. We're just determining whether we put it all in January or split to keep some additional funds for us to accumulate whatever interest we can.
If somebody, quits before the...
Do you think the employees would be okay with 2 payments?
Should be reflected in the handbook.
Yeah.
Well, this would be a change to that.
The question was, is it identified in the handbook today how it's paid? So if we change it, we have to amend the handbook, which we should. That's the comment that was made for those that can't hear.
Why don't we hold it till the December 30th meeting, and then we can look at the handbook, and Meg, we can reconsider. Joy, if that's okay with you.
And again, I would ask Mark to reach out to the employees to see overall majority, if you will, impact. It's budgeted. So
it is budgeted.
It's how it's allocated.
Although we will have 2, one position was already there, and then one new officer's bringing it onto insurance, so there would be 1 not budgeted this year, which is okay. And these are not, I think the highest amount is $3,500.
Yeah.
The typical is $1,750, I believe. So.
Okay,
table it?
Yeah, I think we should table it till our next meeting. But I'd be, it seems reasonable to me to, do it in 2 payments.
Well, and something to consider, we have a couple of very long-term employees, and we have a couple of brand-new employees, so.
Okay. SciTech Industries project update. I got a letter from Mary Green from SciTech Industries because they are required to let us know what's happening. So during our last communication, the work plan was to address the groundwater portion of the project, and it was under review by IDEM. That was approved, and the work is scheduled to begin in the spring of 2025 and extend into 2026 when construction has been completed and the system has become operational. The system will remove metals from the groundwater through water treatment and settling, and the system will operate much like a public water treatment system. SciTech is committed to providing updates to the state, county, and local leaders as well as their neighbors. And they also have provided formal reports to IDEM, and if they're available online, if anyone's interested in reading those, I'd be happy to give you the web address. Any questions?
Thank you.
This is for the two, they have two testing wells on Long Beach property to test the groundwater. Approval for Sender Dalton to conduct water rate study.
In our meeting with Senator Dalton, there was discussion about the recent increase by the Michigan City Water Department where they had increased their water rates. We are a buyer of their water and then reseller to our residents. So therefore, we have not increased our water rates in some time. So in our meeting with Trista and Clerk Treasurer Collins, it's our recommendation that we seek the approval of the council to get the assistance of Carl Sender's office to conduct a rate study, to report back to the Clerk Treasurer and the Town Council for consideration in 2025 for a slight increase to the current water rate.
Anybody like to make a motion?
Well, sorry, I don't remember the attachment, but what is the total cost to the water rate study by Sender?
I did speak with Trista on this, and they have all of our current financials, and she thought it would only cost a couple $1,000s. So, as in few. So.
Should we know that before approving?
Yeah, we could do that, Margaret.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I just said, should we know what the cost to conduct this study would be before approving this study?
I was just relying on conversations that Meg's office had with Carl Sender.
Yes, it would cost a couple $1,000s. It would address our needs in the future that would be built into the rates. Inflation would be looked at. We could project ahead 4 to 5 years. We can kind of the opportunity to think about our SRF loan. It's paid off at the end of 26, and then, you know, what happens after that. Michigan City's raised their rates to us, and we didn't raise ours after that. And we're still working out the best way for our entries for the SRF loan, and that may be kind of skewing the water department. We've got some funds that are wrapped up together, and so the water department, you know, could kind of be losing money depending how you look at things.
So the cost of the study was $2,000?
Our opinion was the garbage study we just did, the water was just involved. So I think that Greg, Diane, myself, and even Laurel can get together and pull a lot of the data that we need, and then Sender can kind of put that together. This was per Trista. We don't have to do this. We can try and assess it ourselves, and or we can get more information.
So can we get a proposal from Sender for like
I would say
what it's going to cost?
Yeah, I'll talk with her about that.
Okay.
I also think it's important, given the fact that, given the time that was put into the charges, the monthly charges for the calendar years 2025, 26, 27, the increases for garbage and leaf pickup, that it would be an appropriate time to also look at the water department. I think the leaf and garbage pickup hadn't been looked at since 2005, if I remember correctly. So, you know, the costs are minimal, so if it takes more time of the clerk treasurer's office and the water department, I think it would certainly be a good thing.
And I think just putting it on your agenda that this does need to be looked at. It's been many years, as Mark stated earlier tonight. So,
Can we also just throw it out there, we could make a motion to, approve it not to exceed like $5,000 if, and then that way we could just start working on it.
I'd be happy to do that.
I'd be happy with that.
Okay, I'm gonna make that motion, obviously, Trista will be fair, but, so I'll make a motion to move ahead with, approving Senator Dalton to conduct the water rate study not to exceed $5,000.
I would second that, Kendra.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Proposed water rate increase for 2025.
Madam President, that was placed on your agenda tonight just for discussion and for public awareness that it is being considered for 2025, and that we'll be revisiting this once you get your survey information back from Senator Dalton. So I foresee this returning to your agenda again in spring. So maybe we can keep it under your unfinished business if you would allow.
Okay, thank you. Building Department, contractor registration fee. Our contractor registration fee is currently $65, which is the lowest anywhere. And so with our implementation of the new software and additional costs that we have now, the Building Commission recommends to increase our contractor registration fee to $100. I think that's the least amount it is anywhere. It's usually between $100 and $300. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Before you go forward.
What?
So that has to be done.
Before we go forward.
Those fees are all set by ordinance, so we need to set those and give notice, publish anytime you increase fees. So I would suggest, because there has been a discussion at the building commission level of maybe increasing or reviewing the other fee structures, that might want to do all of that at the same time.
Okay.
So I would suggest that we could still get it in this year, but unless you have a unanimous, and you're not going to have everybody here at your year-end meeting, so it isn't likely that you're going to be able to pass that this year. And you have to give notice beforehand for changing those fees.
Like a 30-day notice thing? Public hearing type notice?
10-day notice.
10-day notice, okay.
So how could we accomplish that to help Larry so that when the forms go out about the new software, what can we do?
clearly it makes sense to look at all the fees together, but for this one fee.
It doesn't matter to me if it's 1 or 50, whatever you get. I'm just suggesting it while you're going through the process, and if you have the ability to do it, but you certainly can do this one.
What do you think, Larry?
So come January 2nd, Iowa will be implemented, and the contractor registration is for 1 year. So many contractor registrations will take place beginning on January 2nd. People are stopping in now to register, but we are having them wait because we want them to do it through the portal and all electronically. So if we can't make the January 2nd deadline, it will,
But we could, right? We could do $100, we could approve it in chunks. We could do $100 right now, give 10-day notice, and then by the 19th, we'll be ready to go.
Or you can't consider it before notice.
Yeah, we've got to
You can't do
write
nothing
it.
tonight.
Oh, we
You
got
have to get 10-day notice, have a public hearing, go through your process, and then consider it and approve it. And then when you change fees, you also have to publish it in the newspaper.
Because you could get it done on the 20th.
Yeah, you'd have to have a meeting this week as an executive session to,
You could,
if it's,
You could get notice, but then you'd have to have all 5 of us.
you have to have a public.
yeah.
Yes.
and Chris, there's
Your
no,
first meeting, you could get the first one done, and then you have to get the second one done and the publication, so no matter what, you wouldn't have it, you're not gonna have it done before the implementation. There you go.
and
The earlier the contractors get to the system.
are we okay, that we, those beginning contractors pay 65 and whenever we implement this, whoever's after that pays
It'll be
100.
effective when it's effective.
Okay.
I think, Meg, to your point, when Larry rolls out the new software, the registration fee is going to be remaining at the $65. And as Chris indicated, once the new ordinance, or the ordinance is updated, then say February 1st, effective date, the registration goes to $100. So
It'll just,
yeah. So those that register early for 2025 are going to save $35. Otherwise, if you register after the ordinance is passed, you're going to pay the $100.
In talking with Michigan City, they're going to go.
Oh, sorry, Larry.
Hey,
Mike, otherwise, I
Mike.
won't pick it up on Zoom.
Soft-spoken.
Thanks. So in talking with Michigan City, they're going to do the same thing. They're changing, but they're not ready to do it at the first of the year. So we're ready. We'll just have to roll out with $65, and then I don't think we can retroactively go back for the other 35 to the other people, but out of the 300, we have over 400 registered now, but a lot of those have fallen by the wayside. So out of the 320 to 350 that we get, there'll probably be at least 100 or so that come in early. I'll make sure I get mine in. And then it's whenever you guys do it, as Chris said, right, you're not gonna just look at that fee, you're gonna look at all the fees, right?
Well, I'm gonna do as directed, so it's gonna be what the building commission suggests. You know, we've had that discussion at the building commission level, because you have those ranges of whether you wanna change any of those or change those ranges a bit, so you may want to, maybe it doesn't fit the timing, but it's certainly something that you wanna consider. The only reason I suggest it now, not to add additional, steps for it, but I'm always conscious of the process, and since we're gonna have to publish and have a public hearing, try to fit in as much in that as we can, but you're not gonna have a building commission meeting before that.
Right.
January 10th.
Right. Okay, well, I mean, that's fine. What we may do, maybe, and we'll talk to you, all the people on the building commission, we may roll it out earlier then. And if that's all right, I think it would be fine. And the question about the fees are, and Deanna was at one of our trainings the other night. She came here, I think in 2008, she said, and it was $50. And in 2018, they raised it to $65. We are the lowest by far. Even at $100, we will be the lowest in the county that I'm aware of, and most likely the lowest in between the smaller towns up in Michigan too. So, and it will pay the extra $35, even if we only get 100 on the first go around. At 65, will pay for the software. Thanks.
So it might be reasonable to just work on raising that fee, because given building commission, sometimes the meetings are long and there's a lot to consider. I mean,
Yeah, you're gonna
instead
have
of
other
looking
things
at all the other fees.
You're gonna have other things that will have a public hearing, so it's not like you can't raise others.
Okay.
Other fees.
Thanks.
Thanks, Larry.
I was gonna monitor this to make sure that we do the public hearing. Who's, Chris?
Okay, thank you, Larry. Approval to hire street department driver, laborer, and approval of hourly rate recommendation. Is that you, Chief?
The HR committee interview committee, which consisted of our street department superintendent, Tom Dolph, clerk treasurer, Meg Collins, and myself, interviewed 4 potential candidates for our open position within our street department for the driver laborer position. There was a total of 86 applications that were received through Indeed, 16 applications through ZipRecruiter, for a total of 102 applicants. It is the committee's recommendation to hire Christopher Hollifield. Chris is a Long Beach resident who resides here on St. Lawrence, just behind the town hall. He has been employed for the past 2 years with the National Park Service in the maintenance department, where he specialized in construction, ground maintenance, and overall upkeep of the national park properties. Previously, Chris worked for the City of LaPorte Park and Recreation Department from 2013 to 2017. He has also worked with the Indiana Department of Transportation, INDOT, where he was a bridge inspector and also a snowplow driver on our state highways for a brief period of time. Chris was recommended to us by the Long Beach Country Club's course superintendent Brian Ray. And it is our recommendation also that we start Chris out with a hourly salary of $24 per hour. The reasoning for that is his previous experience. In our salary ordinance, the range for this particular position is $20 per hour to $25 an hour. We checked with the LaPorte County Highway Department. Drivers with the amount of experience that Chris has starts out at $24.02 an hour. So therefore, we wanted to be competitive and offer Chris the starting salary of $24 per hour. So again, this recommendation, asking the council tonight that we move forward with the hiring of Chris Hollifield. He will need the town's health care benefits for a single employee, and the recommendation is $24 per hour. And the good news is that he can start tomorrow because we are in need of a fourth snowplow driver. At this time, we only have 3 plow drivers. We are missing our 4th.
I would make a motion to, that the street department be allowed to hire Chris Hollifield.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Any discussion?
My only discussion is that I happen to know Chris. I was pleasantly surprised to see this come in the email. I've known him while he's been working over at Long Beach Country Club. He's incredibly well liked over there. He worked seasonal at the Park Service, so that's why he's looking for something full-time. He just is a wonderful guy. I think hopefully he'll do well with the town employees and get along with everybody. And he's a hard worker.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Welcome aboard, Christopher.
He'll be here for the lunch. Very
Haas and
excited about
Associates,
that.
Haas and Associates proposal for approval, engineering services, 2024 CCMG design and bidding services, not to exceed $59,500.
Unless there's any questions, a couple weeks ago, council members received a proposal, both Part A and Part B. Part A will consist of 2 planning meetings, emails, correspondence, also a complete set of construction documents that are necessary for the 12 individual roads that will be paved throughout the community under the community crossing grant next year. And then also the bidding services, preparation of bid documents, distribution of bid documents, answering any questions, construction pre-bid meetings, and any other additional work necessary to be compliant with the CCMG state funds that we'll be receiving, not to exceed the sum of $59,500.
I'll make a motion to approve that proposal.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Resolution 2024-003, transfer of funds.
That will be tabled until the year-end meeting, as I explained earlier.
Okay.
Any questions?
Asset management plan.
Dave, you want to start on that one?
Sure. So, Mark, we have been discussing this for many weeks and months. As part of the annual AFR reporting to the state, there's a section that is related to assets. And we had kind of entered some water numbers in the past, but really haven't reported on it. So Mark has put together a great list of anything, a couple of items over $5,000, but basically anything of value on the police side in this building. But we still need to do our work using our insurance estimates as part of it, is what Tristan explained. Mark, Tristan and I met, and Sender is going to, actually they should be sending it to me hopefully soon. They are clearing out a file they already have that has various pages of what we would then fill in with our information on the town's assets and valuations, correct?
Yeah.
Depreciation will be looked at. You know, some places hire companies to do this. It can be very costly. So we're trying to do much of it ourselves with a little direction from Senator as well. So once we get that file, we'll be putting that together, and it actually feeds right into this beginning page of what I need to enter into the ALFR. So if we can get it, and once the most legwork would be this year, and then it will just be the upkeep of it. And again, Mark's done much of the legwork for many of our items, which is great. So I'll keep you updated. We also, as everyone knows, because I think I stated it, but we are due for an audit of the last 4 years. And when the auditors come, it would be good to tell them and explain that we have a good plan working towards this. So, any questions?
What is the minimum, what does the AFR requires a minimum asset to be listed?
We did take that with our ordinance. I don't think they have.
I didn't hear your question.
I don't know.
Minimum value threshold of the asset to be listed on the fixed asset schedule?
When we met with Trista, that's one of the things that she's researching is we probably need to update our ordinance relative to the amount that we utilize to list our inventory at. Some communities use 5,000, some are 10,000 or more, so we'll need to determine that at an upcoming meeting because I'm not familiar with the ordinance related to that currently. So we'll need to look at that one also.
Chris, do we even have it? I mean, my review of the ordinance, that doesn't even ring a bell.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
It doesn't.
And we'll need to create.
I think we verbally spoke about it at the beginning of the year.
We did.
At the
Well, I think there's an ordinance.
correct, yes.
It's 5,000 is a reasonable threshold, if you lower that massive amount of work. It's unnecessary, depreciates so quickly.
Right. The two areas that we need to work on is our water infrastructure, number of valves, fire hydrants, our water lines. I mean, Greg has a great idea of how many lineal feet of pipe that we have out there, but we've got to get that information to the clerk treasurer. And then also our stormwater infrastructure. We need to report the number of dry wells, catch basins, the amount of pipe that we have out there, and our stormwater as well. Tom's got a pretty good idea, and we've got a lot of projects we've done in relationship to CCNG over the last couple of years. But those are the items for asset management that we don't have available currently, and those are the areas we need to work on. Again, for tonight's agenda, we want to get it entered into the meeting minutes to show that the State Board of Accounts on our annual financial report that we are very aware of this and that we are working on it.
And I did speak with Greg in the water department, and he has the information that we're hoping to receive. So we're getting, rolling on with this more and more.
And when we met with Greg, along with Meg and Trista, Greg did share that some of the training sessions they've been at recently, they've been advised how to do their asset management, so they're very familiar with it. So I think in-house between Greg and Austin, they should be able to come, together and give us the numbers that we need.
Okay, thank you. Lexipol grant for police boat. Chief.
I know tonight we've talked about grant opportunities, and we found another grant opportunity that is out there through the federal government. It is the Port Security Grant. That grant is available to lakefront communities to provide equipment, training, other safety initiatives along the lakefront. Many communities around us have applied for port security grants in recent years, have been successful in getting either their marine units updated, receiving other federal funds to make improvements. So therefore, we've explored the opportunities for the Port Authority Security Grant. I've also spoke to the chief at the United States Coast Guard, who was recently appointed back in July of this year. After a couple of conversations with him, he encouraged us to pursue this particular grant. It is a very complex grant, so therefore I sought the help of Lexipol, which is a vendor that we use for our online police training currently. We initially started out our negotiations at about a $6,000 fee for them to assist in gathering information and applying for the grant. I was able to negotiate that fee down to $4,000. In the email that the council received, You'll see that I'm proposing that we pay the $4,000 fee for this grant from the police donation account out of the funds that we received in May of this year for the efforts by H&S Landscaping, where they raised $14,084 in in-kind donations for the Marine unit. The balance currently in our account is $9,541. So I'm asking for permission from the council to allow me to authorize Lexipol to move forward with the grant writing assistance in a sum of $4,000 for next year's grant application. With the understanding, even if we're not successful, we own the application. Many communities have had to apply 2-3 years in a row before being successful, because the boat that we're looking at is about $233,000. So if we could get federal funds to pay for this, it would be a huge gift to the community. And I would like to mention, I emailed the council today, unsolicited, we received a very generous in-kind donation from a Long Beach family of $5,000 to the police department today. Totally unsolicited. They just sent it to us out of their charitable donation fund. So we could even use $4,000 out of that $5,000 for this program, because those are unrestricted funds that it's just $5,000 into our donation account.
Will this grant pay for the whole boat?
We don't know.
It pays for, depending on what we're awarded, we would owe no more than 25% of it in matching funds. So I would say no more than $75,000 the town may have to pay if we were to accept the grant, if awarded it. However, I did share with you, we have built into the capital expenditure plan in 2027, $120,000, planning on replacing our boat, even if we did apply for a grant. So the hope is we can use grant funds to pay for the majority of it.
So if I could comment, I don't know if I can comment before. Sure. And again, hats off for all the grants that you have pursued to help the town. I question the priority at this time. It's call it 2027. Can this not be tabled for 2025 or 2026? I also think yes, a generous donation, but I know at a previous meeting, we've had citizens come to us about traffic concerns on Moore Road. I know we talked about adding another speed limit awareness sign at $4,200. I look at that as a big request of the community during one of our public comments. I tried to find what month that was, apologize, and the people that made that.
Did we do that? We did that though.
No, we didn't put on Moore Road the blinking speed that we have on Chastleton. So, again, that was a request by a few citizens who came forward to speak their concern of the speed down Moore Road. So I look at that generous donation by the family to look at another one of those to immediately impact the community. And $4,000 for a grant for a 2027 acquisition for a boat seems a lot currently today. That's my comment.
Okay, but my issue is the Coast Guard no longer works hours and like on weekends.
I understand that. I can, as a boat owner, no longer, but as a boat owner, I also know that the community has more residents on beaches and on roads than they do on water. It's a jurisdiction that goes even beyond Long Beach. I know that the conditions in which most, call it drownings or SOS requirements, are conditions that there are a few boats that should be out on the water. And to Mark's point, our current boat isn't even big enough for a lot of those conditions. So the need would be for a much larger boat. I would comment that the U.S. Coast Guard could no longer fund Michigan City. Michigan City should also jump into this, I believe, to look at how they help waters, because there's way more boats anchored down at stop 2 and 3 than I see sometimes accumulative at the stops that we live amongst. So again, I just look at priorities right now in 2024 to spend $4,000 here in December to do a grant write for a purchase of a boat when we have a community center that I know they've asked for funds to improve kitchens and We've spent 12 months at how we can improve our town. We just talked about a new speaker system in here to improve live feed and improving our communications here. I know we're gonna have another one coming up here in 2 or 3 line items about another purchase for the police and fire department that is very important, I think, based on some circumstances. But the current spend doesn't cover everything that's needed. I think we've gotten vehicles this year that aren't even wrapped. Maybe they're not intended to be wrapped, but they don't say Long Beach on those vehicles. I just think there's a lot of places we could spend the money than on a grant to buy a boat that may or may not be a priority, but that's my comment.
My comment is on the community center that they have a healthy budget and they have worked hard this year and they have used their budget and they still have money left over and they will continue to use their budget there to buy heat pumps. So I don't think that there's anything at the community center that anything is falling apart that has been left behind. As I said, they have money left in their budget. The other thing is, I can't remember the resident's name who came. I know I've met her a few times. And I thought that we used one of the other signs on Moore Road and that she was very happy with that you would put the other sign out there and with the results of what happened there. And the other thing is that this is $4,000. The money is there. The Hugleys had arranged for the fundraiser for the police department, specifically for the boat. And, you know, we can pick and choose through the budget. And what are we going to say? Like, to me, it was not a big thing that we needed to spend $4,650 for a sign concept. So, you know, we can go back and forth about what was voted on. I think this is important. The money is there and the vote is important. And I would make a motion, if it's proper right now, that we fund the $4,000 out of the donation funds for repairs and boat maintenance.
And again, I'll go last comment, sorry, priority. I know that sitting on the fire and the police council, there's talk of fire department personnel needing new pants and new jackets, and where will that funding come from? And I think that is a big priority because those people do go into burning fires more so than maybe a boat on the water in distress that we're going to tow. So I think there is a new building we have next door that isn't completely finished. There were still wants and needs, tables and chairs. I just see that there are other priorities to spend money that should be higher priority than a boat.
Okay, I'll second for any further discussion.
I'd like to add a few points here, just in general discussion. Joy asked a very good question, if the boat was for free. But anybody who's had a boat knows that on average we should be budgeting 10% of purchase price for annual maintenance, storage, moorage. So that's adding $23,000. And your number was anywhere from $233,000 to $350,000. So in this process, I don't really recall having a proper discussion about the need for a vote from this group, and is this in kind of implicit approval to move forward with the acquisition of a boat, just as a matter of process? And is that need and desire Shannon's bringing up we haven't talked about this, and is this a go then?
We did write a letter from this council to the Coast Guard saying our...
Expressing our concern that the Coast Guard...
And from that came the discussion of we needed a new boat.
Yeah, and the boat and the number that was put in the capital plan was 120.
Okay.
And then the number showed up this week at 233 to 350. So have we really talked about what kind of acquisition it is? Have we talked through it? And is therefore this implicit approval of this grant, not only, even if it's free, let's be clear, we're adding more fixed costs to a budget, could range from anywhere from $23,000 to $35,000 a year just to maintain. Just as a matter of discussion, have we gone through that whole process?
No, we haven't.
I think that's important. Sorry, Joe, didn't mean to.
What's the deadline for the grant?
So, a couple of things just to kind of recap some of the questions tonight. Over the last 6 months, I've had 2 separate occasions where I've had personal conversations with Congressman Frank Moran about Lake Michigan, the lack of the Coast Guard, Council's letter, the need of the Long Beach Police Department to upgrade a boat that's 24 years old. We've had a Marine unit as far back as 24 years ago. So to my knowledge, nobody's ever shared with my office that they no longer wanted a boat in our inventory as our piece of equipment. We've always had a boat here before I arrived in the town. The town's long had, back in the day, they had a jet ski. They've had this police boat since, I believe it's 1997. I think the engines were 2000 that are on the boat currently. This opportunity, when I spoke to Congressman Frank Moran on those 2 separate occasions, he was like, you need to get involved in the port security grant, you need to get your application in. To me, it's an opportunity that I see for the town to secure federal funds that could provide an asset for the town that would be a very valuable asset at minimal cost to the town. I understand the annual need for maintenance and storage, and we've already looked at, the slip that we would need for the boat down at the Coast Guard Station. The Coast Guard Station allowed us to keep our boat this year down at the Coast Guard Station to no cost to the town. We had it in the water for the 4th of July weekend. We had our boat in the water down at the Coast Guard Station for the Super Power Boat races this year. And as we made our way through the harbor, the boat, the engines, everything went out. We had to be towed to Beanie Marina. So this is why I'm bringing it before the council, is there's a definite need to replace the current asset. If we don't replace the current asset that we have, we'll be putting a lot of money annually into the boat moving forward. The $120,000 that we put into the capital request would be for a boat that is probably on the Ford Escort side compared to a Cadillac Escalade. The higher end boat meets the standards that the Coast Guard requires. For us to get the Port Authority security grant, the Coast Guard is going to set standards for the boat that they're going to want that boat to be, which is going to be what they call a safe boat type vessel. So it'd be an enclosed center console type boat, similar to the smaller boat that you see that's operated by the Coast Guard currently. The Coast Guard chief had encouraged me that in recent years, there hasn't been as much interest from a lot of the other surrounding towns and communities, so he thought that the chances of us being successful in the next 2 to 3 years for the grant seemed likely. So I thought that the sooner we could get in 2025, the spring, I believe the deadline is either late May or June for the deadline. They award the grants then in the fall of that year. So if we were to place our grant application next year, the soonest we might see this boat is 26 or 27. If we're not successful next year and we reapply the following year, then obviously we'll push that timeline out. One of the things with the federal government, obviously we have a change in administration in 2025. Some of these grants may just disappear after next year as well. They may not be grant opportunities moving forward. So, and again, if we're awarded the grant, we always have the opportunity to turn down the funds and say that, the town is no longer interested, we're no longer going to have a boat. So those are all opportunities. So again, I look at the dollars and cents, trust me, every single week when I'm here. That's why tonight we voted on lower insurance rates for 2025. We've made other changes this year, saving money on our body cameras for next year. We're saving, like over $5,000 a year in that contract for the next 5 years for $25,000 in savings. So we're constantly looking at ways of saving money. Again, it's totally up to you. If you tell me that you no longer want a boat, I'll keep the current boat that we have as long as we can. But moving forward, I just saw this as an opportunity for the town.
No, Mark, and I want to be very clear. I appreciate the work you've done here. And I think we need to have this discussion, because if anybody's looked at the existing boat, is that is insufficient for when Lake Michigan gets going. It is not, it wouldn't do anything. It's not nearly big enough considering the activity that can be on this massive body of water. I think the question and the discussion is, does Long Beach need a boat? And would we rather spend $25,000 to get some help in a lobbyist to get the Coast Guard actually patrolling and sharing a cost or something other? But to your point, we've had it for 24 years. Just because we've had it doesn't necessarily mean we need it. And I think we should have that discussion.
I would also ask cart before the horse? Do we need to do more investigation on our own to know a boat of that size? What's the manpower requirement to operate it, to staff it? So how does that impact our current staffing? Because I know our one qualified, call it captain, is a night officer. How does that impact, because we're not putting a boat on the water at night, we're doing it day, so how does that impact staffing? So I think those costs also have to be evaluated along with, to JD's point, storage, mooring, insurance.
And if we lose him, can anybody drive a boat, or do you have to be a licensed captain? Because if he's gone...
No, there's training provided by the Department of Natural Resources, and currently we have our reserve officers and a pool of firefighters that have volunteered to assist with the Marine unit. So like this year, typically we always have the boat out with 2 people. We have an operator and a second set of hands on the boat. It wasn't an issue this year, manpower-wise. We had a great team of volunteers. Most of the time, we changed up the work schedule so that our midnight officer was off on his Saturday night shift, and then during the day he was out on the boat, and then we backfilled his night shift with our part-time deputies then. So.
Yeah, and again, I just think there's a lot of information that probably could be collected, understood, let's call it put into a proposal of all dollars impacted, not just the purchase of a boat. And again, allocating $4,000, that we do have other probably areas we can spend $4,000 than a grant. If we're not ready to say yes to the boat and we know where we're going to store it, and we know who's going to operate it, and we know those costs, that's all.
And we know if it's 230 or 350.
Yeah.
So I'll just cut to or speed it up maybe a little, because I feel like I'm probably in the middle, but now I am a little like thinking about things. And since if the deadline application is May and June, I would like to maybe make a motion to just table this to the January meeting or December I want to formulate some questions too, sort of along those lines. And just, so that's right? May, June's application deadline?
To your point though, Kendra, the contract that we have, a proposal before us, there is a $2,000 discount if we sign in the month of December. If we move into January, I'll have to renegotiate the contract because Lexipol did indicate if we signed in December, they would move forward with services at $4,000. I would just have to go back to them and ask for an updated contract.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second on the table. So let's take care of that first. So the motion was to accept the grant proposal. It was seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
I think you're supposed to say aye because you're opposed, so aye. I'm opposed, yeah, because I would make a motion to table it.
Okay, so that doesn't pass, so it's tabled. Okay.
So, table.
No. Yes, vote.
Kendra, motion to table. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank
And are we
you.
tabling that to the year-end meeting or the January?
I'd like to do January.
January meeting.
Because I don't think December is going to be fully, yeah.
Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department proposed fire protection agreement for council review.
Speak to that. Ultimately, that before you is a draft that's been considered. It really is most of what has been previously approved, just updated, condensed because there were previously some exhibits and an MOU regarding cooperation and obligations on each side with regard to capital expenditure planning and those kinds of things, of which you guys have all righted that ship and have a regular plan, and it seems that both sides are working together. So the intention is for the council to consider and make a decision by year's end, but what has to be decided, and the reason it's for you for review, is you have a couple avenues, and I will defer to Meg and Mr. Wall with any specific questions from the fire side. But your options are essentially to pay a heightened fee and those numbers I'll defer to May, but with some of, in that, one way or the other, you are responsible for paying for certain things, and those obligations are laid out in that contract, most of which are all dictated by the Indiana code. But there are a couple of ways of doing that. One would be for Meg to take a check and write a lump sum and transfer it to the fire department under the payment schedule, and then they're responsible for dispersing and doing all those things. However, the way that it's traditionally been done is there's a set fee, and then those other costs are paid by the town, and the clerk treasurer's office has a little more oversight of that. Not that the fire department isn't capable or cannot, but everything flows through the clerk treasurer's office with regard to the expenses. So required insurances or repairs, those kinds of things. So the amounts, the two big decisions you have to make is what approach you want to take for payment of fees, okay, and two, what the percentage annual increase. And before, previous administration had a little bit of a, probably too complex for what you're doing, formula for determining inflationary, you know, the cost of living adjustments. Not stealing any thunder, but it seems to me that budget and finance, there was some discussion about simply mirroring what the employees, or there's increases in that contract would annually reflect that too. So again, this is mostly for review and some discussion, and I'll defer for John to fill in the blank, or maybe to fill in the blanks of anything I missed there.
And I think it was important too what happened at budget and finance. It was extremely well explained. John, thank you. And what the cost.
You have any recipes into
Well, I'd like to keep that, yeah. Well, because the biggest part is left blank, right, which is how much. So if you could, I would love more.
Yeah, Chris has done a great job summarizing. You guys have seen, I think you've seen all. So in terms of why this happened now, the impetus was that the, clerk and senator were trying to professionalize the thing a little bit more. We had this contract. It's always been it's never been sunsetted. It's always had an open clause that lets it continue, and that's what we've always done. Okay, so we rewrote it in 2011, and then I forget when the other one was. So sometimes it goes for decades without ever being addressed. But what the intent was to try to clean up the financial side. The language that's in the contract on all the other clauses is acceptable to everybody, I believe. Essentially, the two options that were discussed at the budget and finance were, do you want to have a lump sum that's larger and then not have to deal with the sundry miscellaneous invoices that are coming in? That was going to be in a range of 60. Blake corrected me. I thought it was around 41 or 42. He said 42.5 is where we're at with the current consumer price index adjustment that was initiated with the prior council.
So let me just interrupt. So for clarity purposes, so that's current day, right? That's current obligation of the town under the existing contract. So that would be your base amount, and then what would change is you would add that, and then it would increase from those annual adjustments.
So we're happy. Whatever you guys decide is fine with the fire department. If we stay at 42.5 and the escalation clause is dependent upon, this was suggested by Senator, it seemed a little bit muddy to me. I don't care. We proposed the last time we rewrote this thing, we said, let's just do 3%. The prior council said, no, we're going to put this consumer price index formula in the contract, which they did. It actually hurt the town because instead of 3%, they wound up, because inflation jumped up over the last couple of years, they wound up hurting the town. So the fire department's perfectly happy with whatever you decide. Personally, I think a nominal 3% would be fine. If you want to go with whatever you do with the employees, because that was Senator's suggestion, that's fine too. That's the escalation side. All the other language is fine. We used to have this MOU that Chris talked about because we always were worried, and our experience had always been that the councils forgot about us, and then these trucks got so old that we were in trouble. The equipment was, decrepit, the station was decrepit. But we don't have that relationship anymore. Essentially, with this new capital plan, the council is always aware. We keep updating the capital plan for all the departments in the town, which is wonderful. That's the way it should be. Instead of having problems develop and all of a sudden you got a 6-figure problem that you weren't aware of, now we're planning for new equipment on a regular basis for all the departments, which is wonderful. So,
and can I just add to that part? So that's where I was speaking. We got rid of an exhibit. We got rid of the MOU, and that capital plan was implemented under that same administration. So, and then as you'll notice, some of the obligations on both sides is that you are committed to work with each other on a capital plan and budgeting. So, you know, we saved 5 pages, for instance, on the contract, by just noting those obligations.
Yes, so the council's now aware by virtue of the capital plan, just as Mark does with all the other departments in town. We sit with the administration every year and we say, okay, here's where we think we need to be with some capital requirements looking forward. And you're aware of that. We want to see something done for another truck between now and 2029. So we're fine with that. And as Chris mentioned, all the state code citations, most of what you're responsible for, Meg has now become aware of now that she's been in office for a while. There's only like 3 fixed things. There's the clothing allowance, there's the IVFA dues, and insurances. So now those are quantified and the budgeting is in place, I believe, for all that. Whether you want to pay it to us and we pay it, we don't care. I think it kind of seems goofy to me. I think we just keep that 42.5 as a base, put whatever escalation clause you guys are happy with, and then she can just, the clerk's office can pay whatever those additional costs. I will forewarn you though, you know, we're still dealing with that old truck until we get to 2029 or whenever we replace the other one. So we're blessed with the old council gave us that new truck, or gave us appropriated for it. That will eliminate a lot of these unforeseen maintenance costs that we've been dealing with over these last 20, 30 years. That'll be further iced when we get the other new one. So there is that. There's always that risk of some more maintenance costs. But
and to clarify, if you go with that other option, then the $2,500 provision in there for expenses, that would be. So that was a little bit of a suggestion when we had a meeting with Trista and Meg and representatives of the fire department, is that they would handle those up to a certain amount because they have the heightened fee, right? So if a $60,000 fee, part of what they implemented in was looked at their history. Here's what we generally spend per year. We will just handle those up to a certain amount. But going back to, so that's where we kind of stop, because you have a big decision. Which way are we going to do?
So it's pay me now or pay me later. However you guys want. Yeah. We now kind of know where we're at. That 60 is probably a reasonable amount to be thinking about for the overall cost. We don't care how you want to play the game.
But a benefit is that, go ahead.
Just what's easiest for the clerk treasurer's office.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it gets down to, is for Meg to make a proposal for you and then you make a decision, because the numbers add up both ways.
We budgeted 60 based on our meeting of where the fire department was at with the expenses current day. If this really came up in part because of the new building, associated costs. There's NIPSCO mills, just the maintenance. Hopefully it doesn't need much maintenance these first couple of years. But Mark already got that in the works to maintain the AC, etc. It's getting cleaned up. The fire department's paying a portion of that, the town is paying a portion. So I think if we kept in that $2,500, because you had discussed maybe taking that out if we kept the lower.
If you go to 42.5, which is the new CPI number for this current year we're in, and use that as your base, then that takes one decision out. Your 2,500, I think, would go away. That's what the fire department would prefer. If we're not going to do 60, then you're not giving us the money to worry about all that. So we're just going to present you with the invoices.
How much it adds complexity
Do
to the fire department?
Yeah, because then we're not handling.
You're going to pick up the tab either way.
The 25, you're getting the 8,000 clothing allowance, we're just giving it one lump sum and you manage it, is basically.
No, we prefer the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah, we prefer to keep the number down. This was initiated because Trista would see these invoices coming in and say, well, how do we budget for this? Well, now we've identified the clothing, the statutory things that you're required to pay, we've identified. She's aware of that now. Keep in mind that the current, I don't want to get into old history, but the clerk's office was having all kinds of issues, okay? She steps back in I forget when Trista really started getting more involved. I want to say April last year, I don't even remember. She's only been really intimately involved in the last 6-8 months. So that's what she was trying to make it easier or make it more accounting certifiable sort of a thing.
Just from a simplicity standpoint, maybe you prefer one check.
I think it's easier for us to just pay for the items is what we, right?
See, part of the problem, JD, is you are, by state code, you are required to, so all those citations in that contract, it's ridiculous for you to pay a outside contractual body something that your contractual, or your, what do I want to say? You are required to pay by the state. Why don't you just pay it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so don't give us 60, give us 42.
That's, I guess that's my point, John. I'm just trying to understand what is the simplest
Well,
thing.
plus the 60,000 that's not the final answer, right? If there's a major repair on the truck,
Right.
that isn't something that's gonna be covered, so
Keep the number low.
it should just be.
You have the risk, you have the risk of big problems anyway.
So are we right now just gonna approve to fill in this at 42.5 and then?
And the 3% or whatever you decide.
My preference, Joey, I don't know what our process here, so just open discussion, I guess.
Yeah, please.
My
Go ahead.
preference is a 42.5 and a fixed fee of 3% per annum and be done.
But, John Wall, are you sure Blake,
Blake's okay with it. He thinks that the 25 should go away if
The 25 is only if the heightened fund.
but are you guys okay with getting the bills to me?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's not how we've
I
necessarily.
think there was some
handled
confusion
some.
because I was under the mistaken impression, again, I'm getting old, Blake was following it closer than I was with the negotiations with Chris. When we finally got down and distilled it in the last week or so, we finally said, hey, look, I think when Blake was looking at the 25, he's assuming we're still talking about the 60 because he missed a couple of communications. On the other hand, I missed a couple of communications and I was on the impression we should keep the 2,500 in when we were at the budget and finance. What I'm finding now is Blake would prefer, and I agree, let's just get it all out of there, make it very simple, 42.5, everything comes to you guys from this point forward.
And now that you're having a little more streamlined in your office, what you'll find is the town probably benefited along the way because there were certain times at the fire department, the clerk's office didn't see invoices because they were just paying for them. They were just covering them and they're still gonna do their light maintenance and those things, but the 2,500 was always intended to be the higher amount with the threshold that, hey, this is covered, but put the town on notice that if an engine blows.
Correct. We have.
Allocate it here,
budget.
keep it?
And we have the budget, and we also budgeted for these newer items of the public safety building.
Okay.
So that's all.
And we're okay either way, right? We're not trying to
Yeah.
run this thing.
Joy, I would like to offer a proposal of 42,500 annually as a base price for remuneration.
I think I just wrote the check, it's about 10,647, so that's a little low based on,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. I'm sorry, Maggie, what was it?
That's 42,580.
okay, so,
42,588.
okay, never mind then.
So go with 42.5 in that section of remuneration with a 3% annual increase to continue to go. So set it and forget it.
Yep.
And then removing the $2,500 thresholds.
Yes, remove all that other pay.
Chief, one other item is just curiosity, I mean, intercleaning at least X times per week, how often is it being done? We have to fill that.
Yeah, whatever that contract was at the time when we were doing that, I wasn't.
Yeah.
This is like, we've been working on this for a while. That can come out, I think, right? Because I think the town handles that already.
Correct.
In terms of the cost of it.
But that's on the town's obligation.
Yes.
Yes, and this is how many
Because it's an
times?
obligation.
Yeah.
Are we doing it once a month or twice a month? Twice, so we just have to fill that into twice.
Yeah, you guys, I think Mark piggybacked that on your regular maintenance contract that you're terminating.
Perfect.
But fire's paying a portion, so that portion will come back to the town, is that what we're saying?
I think you're paying it now.
Yeah, the town
Well,
pays.
fire's paying, I think, $200, and the
Oh,
cost
they
will
are?
increase slightly when the bathrooms are cleaned, because
Oh.
they're not currently being cleaned.
Yeah.
But that's in the
But that's what we're saying, is those kinds of bills would come to the town.
You guys, yeah.
Then I don't have to send it to Blake and have.
Yeah, which we prefer less of that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds awful.
And then we're gonna reduce 42.5. No, just kidding.
Well, we traditionally try to we pay little sundry things and we try not to bring you every little look at that.
No, we're kidding. All right, so then just update with that amount, and then the 2 times, I think then this document would be able to be approved, correct?
Is that what we need?
Well, we have a motion on the table from JD. Do we have a second?
I second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
So then the intention would be to get the draft with these updates before you and the representative of the fire department, and then be in position to approve it at your special meeting at the end of the month.
Perfect.
And who made that motion?
JD.
Shannon seconded. Just, sorry, it's after the fact, so the items in red, were those new ads, or were they just happen to be a different colored font? Like there's on the, department obligations, it's all in black, but there's a couple bullets that are in
None of
red.
that should be, I think those were notes for discussion in some
I didn't
place.
have the red
Just
one.
Okay, I just didn't know, I mean, number D.
I'll get you a clean version for review.
2 times, that's all they get for cleaning.
Police and Fire Department ATV purchase, Civic Association donation. Chief?
In summary, the council received an email indicating that we have 2 beach patrol ATVs that we use for patrol operations in the summer, special events. There's a 2009 and a 2011. Both of those units are currently at Cycle Sport in Hobart being evaluated. The 2009 unit is experiencing some transmission concerns, and both units are being gone through from top to bottom just to make sure that there are no overall maintenance concerns with either of those units. However, most recently through Megan Applegate, I have approached the Long Beach Civic Association. They previously purchased both of the current ATVs that we have. So I had asked about getting a replacement ATV, a new 2024 unit. This would be a single officer unit. The total cost of that unit is right around $12,000 for a unit that fits our needs for the beach operations. Civic was generous to donate $7,000 to the town. Their donation has since been deposited by the clerk treasurer. I'm asking the council tonight for their approval to allow me to use the remaining $5,100 that we have in our current operating budget for 2024 in my equipment fund. I've kind of held back on ordering some other pieces of equipment with the anticipation that this year that we would more than likely need to address one of our ATVs. So I'm just seeking permission from the council to allow me to move forward with the purchase of an additional ATV for the town, coming in around $12,000, with the understanding that this would be for the police and fire departments and the emergency lighting and the graphics that will go on the vehicle will be paid for in 2025 through either the police department or fire department's operating budgets. We would not be coming back to the council for any additional funds for this. This again is just being totally transparent with the council, letting you know that it is our goal to update our fleet and make sure that we have the equipment necessary to patrol our beaches in the summer months.
Chief, just point of clarification here, if I can ask, because I heard words of replacement and additional. Is this an...
This would be additional. I'm not going to trade in the one of the units that we have because it sounds like I wouldn't get much on the trade. So I'm going to hang on to it because the fire department has voiced a need of utilizing them from time to time. In the past, the fire department was not using the ATVs. So we also have 5 reserve officers that come in the summer. So I have 5 reserve officers, 5 full-time officers, that's 10 officers, and I don't have enough vehicles or enough ATVs to put all of our officers in the field. We have to sometimes pair them up. So by having the additional ATV, this would allow another reserve officer to use an ATV either to patrol the neighborhoods, go out onto the beach, just helps us. Because out of the 5 reserve officers, I only have 2 vehicles that are available for the 5 to use. So they either have to ride an ATV or they have to ride as a passenger in one of the other cars.
Yeah, it's just hard because your email made it sound like we needed another one because the older ones need to be replaced. But this is additional.
Yeah, if they tell me that the 2009, which I have not gotten a report back from Cycle Sport, I hope to get it this week or next week. If they tell me it's going to be several thousands of dollars to get that one repaired, I'm just going to go ahead and write it off, find out what it is worth the trade or whatever. So
Is Cycle Sport Harley Davidson Honda? Or is that different?
It's in Hobart, I know that. So we just dropped them off last week.
So it's different than the quote we have for the new?
The quote that we have is from Honda here locally. I may not buy from Honda, I may buy from Cycle Sport, but it's going to be around $12,000 because the quote that I shared with you from Honda, that one may have been sold. They told me that the inventory is not great. They only have one in stock, and if that one's sold, I'll have to find another vendor. But their pricing now, they're right around $11,000 to $12,000 for that 700cc unit that we would need.
Is this something that can go through Sourcewell?
I haven't seen it on Sourcewell. I could check, but I haven't seen it previously.
Right, because that then, by design, gets us the best price.
So really then, I think the request, Chief, would be to approve a not to exceed number of $12,000 to purchase this ATV?
Yes.
Wherever it comes from.
I don't want to purchase it yet this month so I can still utilize the 5,100 in my equipment line item. Otherwise, if I roll into January, I lose those budgeted funds in my operating budget for this year. And then if I have to use my equipment money in 2025, I can't fulfill some of the things that I intended on doing in 2025.
And I guess to that point though, Chief, you have in capital plan, the last one that was published in November 19th, there's a $10,000 acquisition in 2026 of an ATV, and then a $12,000 acquisition in 2028. Would any of those be removed?
One of those would be removed, taking it out of the town's capital plan, and again, getting back to Civic $7,000 donation, that gift to the town, obviously is going to save us our capital plan.
Yeah, could we just slide some of those funds out of the 12,000? So when you say you're going to lose out of your operating funds of 2024, we just move it, the capital plan to cover the expense so that we know if you're going to use the trade-in, know if we can go through Sourcewell.
I'm getting a little bit confused. I know it's late. I've been here all day.
Well, I mean, if your reference is that you'd be losing funds in 2024, correct?
If you don't purchase.
If you don't.
Right. I have the funds available in the operating budget that I wouldn't have to come to the council to get an additional funding source. So I have $5,100 left that I confirmed with Treasurer Collins is in my remaining budget that I would like to utilize. I've held back over the last 2 months in making some equipment purchases, anticipating this purchase, and then putting that with the $7,000 from Civic. I'm just asking for permission tonight to allow me in the next 2 weeks to get a new ATV utilizing my operating budget for this year. So, and then one of the ATVs falls off the town's capital plan, saving, our capital plan, saving $12,000 down the road. So I'm just looking for permission to move forward with the ATV purchase. The funds are in our operating budget. We have the $7,000 deposited from Civic. I'm just looking for authorization to move forward and getting a new ATV for the police and fire departments.
I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. And comment.
Discussion.
Based on a not to exceed amount of 12,000. Correct?
Actually, it'd be.
Yeah, that'd be fine, yes. With the understanding that next year, as I indicated, the lights and the graphics, the logos, the decals will all be paid out of the operating budget for 2025. So I will not be coming back to the council for any additional appropriations of that. Just not to exceed $12,000 we need to purchase.
But if you could negotiate 8,000 or 9,000 from another source, like SourceLink, then maybe the lighting could be covered.
Possibly, yes.
But it's not the 12,000 because you have 7,000 from Civic. So what
it's fine.
What would be the not to exceed?
I'll amend the motion to purchase the ATV not to exceed $12,000.
Be the 12,121.75.
I'm fine with it, too.
Is there?
Okay, let me amend that motion one more time.
Thank you, Joy, amend one more time.
Just not to exceed 12,000, whatever the number is.
Let's just say
Not to exceed
12,200.
12,121.75.
Okay.
Shandy still second it.
Yeah, second.
Okay, all in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Any council comments?
I'll just make a quick one to say, well, there's a year-end meeting, but I have a feeling I'm gonna miss it. So I just want to say thanks to Shannon and JD for serving on council. And, it's been great. I'm looking forward to 2025. We've got Colleen Lane here in the audience. She'll be up here and Cindy's not here. So, in case this is my last meeting, I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
That's very kind, thank
I second that.
All in favor?
Any opposed?
Any opposed, nay or yay?
Meg, claims approval.
Sure. For November 2024, town checks number 21189 to 21261 totaling $174,000 and $1.04. Water checks 55145 to 55165 totaling $136,101.48. November payroll of $76,862.75. I would ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion?
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.
I think she wants to stay longer. Should I nay it?
Gotta sign it.